Hello, my precious little sparkles. Do you want to play an Otome samurai game where the heroine has a power boost but isn't so overwhelmed by it? Then look no further than Winter's Wish Spirits of Edo. Unlike Hakuoki and Birushana, the protagonist, Suzuno, does have power, but isn't an overwhelming power, one where she has to control or is used a good portion of the time. Her ability is to see people's feelings in the form of strings that change color. Blue if they're sad, yellow if they're happy, and so many other colors. But the most important color is black. Black being that if it becomes too strong, too powerful, they become monsters. Or it forms a monster at least. A monster called a Blightfall. And because of that, two samurai come to her village, a village that shuns her, and come to take her away. These samurais are part of a secret organization called the Oniwabin, and they work for the shogunate, and they've come to take her away and be part of the shogunate. And while she's there, she starts to form bonds, but will these bonds become love? Now, right off the bat, one of the things I liked about this game is that you actually got to choose which characters you get to go for. You're introduced to the characters, and then you get to choose which route you get to go on. Where you get to be in Samurai Town with Tojo or Tominari, Castle Town, where you get to be with Genjuro or Yoichi, or personally my favorite, just because of the town that it's in and both of my favorite characters, Kenji or Otaru. To talk a bit about the towns, Samurai Town is a bit more of the rich area where you're going to find upper, higher classes. Castle Town is a bit more of the public area. And the entertainment district is kind of what it sounds, more of the fun area. But because it's more of a busy area, you're going to find more emotions. And each story and the development of each story does change because of that. Each of our romanceable characters have one important trait about them. Their hearts and memories are sealed. Because of that, it makes them very strong samurai. In order to fight these Blightfalls, these creatures of mass destruction that are nothing but anger, sadness, and strong emotions, these vessels, these samurais that were created, in order to fight them, they have to be emotionless. In order to seal these emotions, they have to be created out of items. It's kind of a hard thing to explain because you have to play the game, but they were created from an item. And from that item, their memories of once they were made and emotions from when they were created are sealed. Because of that, they were able to fight these Blightfalls and only think tactically. That's it. But can she change that somehow? And it's actually very interesting because even though they say that, some of them actually seem like they have emotions. Or are they just playing us? Anyway, let's go ahead and start with Tominari. Tominari, I would personally say, is the Kudera of the game, because when he speaks, he is very logical, and even though he is a vessel, and he doesn't talk unless someone has something to say to him, or unless he sees something to say within the conversation. But honestly, his actions say otherwise. With the protagonist of the game, he's very responsive to her, cares very much around her, and he's very, very sweet. His actions and responses to everything say pretty much everything. You really have to see what he says and does. I was honestly very conflicted with him because he was very emotionless with everything, and he honestly became one of my top 3. But with his story, I was very conflicted with it. I'll talk more about that in my Kitty Corner podcast where I spill all the hot chocolate, and I'll talk more spoiler-filled things about this game. Tojo, I would say, is more of an older brother character. He's very sweet and caring, whether it's the heroine or not. And he looks after her and everyone, especially when he works with Tominari. He even runs a school during his free time. How more sweet can you get? Personally though, I couldn't get past the older brother aspect, but his kindness is too good to be true. And he's a little ditzy. Now moving on to Castletown, Yoichi gave me the big runaround. He's very straightforward, and because of that, it comes off as actually pretty mean and rude. But once you get to know him and realize what he's going through, and honestly, it takes a while to get to that, it actually broke my heart. How he actually views the world and everything that's going on, especially when you're able to get through to him, it is actually quite a bit. Still, personally, I couldn't stand his personality, but yeah, once you're actually able to break through with everything, he actually opens up quite a bit. Not to mention his story was actually one of the most fun ones. And then we have Kuga. I want to say he's another Kudera, but for him, he actually had drive. He wants to be a good samurai. He wants to uphold everything. He had such strong beliefs and minor things that he wants to correct about himself. And to see him learning how to socialize was actually really cute. So when things start fumbling and breaking underneath him, it was really cute and hard to watch. Now for my favorites, the characters in the entertainment district, starting off with Kenji. Now, if you've been with me for a while, you know I love to start with my favorite long-haired boys. But unfortunately, they've made him such a terrible character for me. As you can see, he's very teasing and alluring. And yet he's so beautiful. And he's very aware of this. But it's not something that he really wants. He doesn't want to look this way. He doesn't really want the life that he has right now. But that's as much as I can say about it. And honestly, the type of romance, the type of story that he has is one of my favorites. Even with the sad ends that happen. Even when you do get his happy ending, he's still very teasing, which I just don't like, but it is what it is. He's teasing all through the end. I did say I love long-haired characters, but the character that I did want at the very beginning was Otaru. And that's because at the very beginning, he's fun and cheering. He likes to take breaks because he knows how hard everything is, how life is. And he seems to be very caring. And he takes things pretty hard. Going down his route, I was getting really confused. And the other thing that bothered me was, you had to save his route for last? Like, really? Why? Yeah, that part really bothered me. I had to go through every other character and save his route for last. That really bothered me. And just to save spoilers and stuff, I see why, and unfortunately, he became my least favorite character because of it. I didn't really understand him quite at all. His character became a little bit different at the end, and I felt very devastated by it. With that being said, you do have to play in a certain order. The only characters that are locked are Tomonari and Otaru's. Tomonari you have to save second to last, and Otaru definitely you have to save for last. Their routes are locked. If you do try to play them early, you're gonna get their short bad ends. I accidentally tried to do them first, and yeah, that didn't end up well. The story overall was intriguing, working with emotions instead of just monsters, and the lack of focus of what does it mean to be a samurai and trying to define. It was a nice pull away from compared to other games. And for once, there was a focus of gods in a game. The main thing about this game is that it focused more on the heroine and the love stories with the samurais. And that's really it. That's probably why it didn't have a CG, a group CG. And it didn't really focus on the samurais with the other characters or with their partners or anything. So that's probably why there wasn't a group CG or anything, because the main thing, and there was no overarching story. The overarching story or all the little hints and stuff that they gave connected with the last character. There were some hints and stuff throughout, but overall this story focused more on the protagonist with each samurai. And the samurais, there wasn't really a connection with their partner samurai, and there wasn't like an overarching story. There was some connection with like the mystery and stuff at each one, but didn't really have like an overarching plot or anything. So if that is your cup of tea or anything, then that is your story. Personally, for me, I love when there is camaraderie with characters, especially male characters and stuff. I love when the protagonist fights for themselves, and there was actually quite a little bit of that for the protagonist here. And sometimes it can kind of work with the other opposite end too, but yeah, that's kind of what this story goes for. If I had one complaint, it would be about the game bonuses. A lot of games have chibis, extra CGs once you play through everything, or something more. The only thing they have here is you can see the classic dictionary, music, movies, gallery, and then the only extras you have here, a little bit of information about them, which I've seen in other games, a little bit about their married life, and then a little bit of an extra CG about them, which is okay. It's cute. Normally, I'm used to, if you go into their CG, if you go into the gallery, you get one extra group photo, which again, I love seeing. It's an extra nice shot. The only other difference is if you go back to the main intro, it changes. It just used to be snow, but now it's Sakura's, and the characters look happy instead of unhappy. And then that's it. I would actually say quite a bit more. I do have some other complaints and other comments about the character dynamics, the romance in each story, and the story overall, but then I would be getting into spoiler territory. But you can hear all of that in my Kitty Corner podcast, which will be coming out a week after this. So to make sure you don't miss out on that, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you Sparkles next time. Bye bye!